Block charge. Now, I'd like to focus on block charges where there's lateral or oblique movement, because even though I see tons and tons of clips where the guy is standing completely still and they still call a block on him, I don't want to focus on that, because we can do that another day maybe, but we can even look at some today if you want to. But I'd like to look at ones, I think they're a little more difficult once the defender is moving. And how do we determine if he's legal or not? Because, you know, everyone says he's moving, and we know that's not true, but yet we as officials tend to still call block a lot. So no wonder people think that. Let's get started.
Sounds good.
All right. So like I said, we're going to watch or focus a little more on lateral movement. The rules of guarding do not change when the player's moving. Nothing changes. It's always the same. The thing that changes or that is different is when a player obtains an initial legal guarding position. There's one set of rules, correct? What are those rules to obtain an initial legal guarding position?
2 feet on the ground facing the opponent.
That's right. 2 feet on the playing court, and the torso must be facing his opponent. And that's it. But once that stipulation has been obtained, once they obtain LGP, the rules now change a bit, right? The stipulation, the restrictions are different. You don't have to have 2 feet on the floor. You can have no feet on the floor. You don't have to be stationary. You can be moving in any direction other than toward your opponent. So that's where people get confused. They're moving. He didn't get to the spot. But did he really? Because it all comes down to whether he had an LGP to start, and then was he maintaining or obtaining? All right. So with that said, let's play this first clip. All right. I'm pretty sure he called a block because he didn't make a big charge symbol, which most of us do. Here it is fast again, and then we'll play it slow. What do you guys think? Block or charge?
Block.
No call.
I got nothing.
All right. Does he have legal guarding position right now? Does the rule state you must be in the path of the shooter or the dribbler? Does it state you have to be in between your opponent and the basket? No. All you have to have is 2 feet on the floor and facing your opponent, which he is doing. He is guarding this opponent. That is a legal guarding position. So now what can he do? Now that he's obtained LGP, what can he do? He can move, right? Laterally, obliquely, backward. Where does he move? He moves exactly laterally. And when contact occurs right here, he wasn't moving toward his opponent. He was moving laterally, maintaining his position. So who initiated that contact?
The offensive player.
The offensive player. Now, someone said I got nothing, and I'm okay with nothing.
That was me.
All right, Tim Cullen wants to be a show off.
I just got nothing.
I'm okay with nothing. What I'm not okay with is a block, because this is not a block. I mean, okay, you get a block. We're not going to hold it against a guy. But my point is the defender did nothing wrong. He maintained his position. The contact was initiated by the offense. So it's either going to be a player control foul or it's going to be nothing. And I agree with Tim. I think this contact here is marginal. I think the dribbler goes down in a dramatic way to try and get a foul. So I'm probably passing on this. Does anyone else disagree with a pass, that they think a pass is wrong?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with it.
All right. Let's do another one here.
I said the same time as Tim, but he's just louder than I am. But I'm better looking, so, whatever.
All right. That's Josh Settles. He also gets a check mark.
That's good, Josh.
All right. I believe this one was a no call. So this was a no call. Does it deserve a whistle? Now, I don't have this one marked up. I'm going to play it again fast. Should that be a call or is that a no call? Well, first of all, did he have a legal guarding position? His foot was down, so I know it's not down right at that particular moment. That's where I clipped it, which is kind of odd. I guess this must be an old clip. I'm getting better at this. He's got 2 feet on the floor and he's facing his opponent, is he not?
Yes.
So he has a legal guarding position. Does he move toward his opponent?
No, he's moving back.
No, he's stepping backward, right?
Yep.
So the contact happens and knocks him over. Is it significant enough that knocked him down legitimately? I think that's a legitimate fall. I don't think he's flopping. What do you guys think?
Plus his absence on the court gave him an advantage to be able to make the shot. So,
And he shot the ball because the player fell over. Absolutely.
I got a charge.
You have to call a charge if you call anything here, I think.
This cannot be a block. He had established a legal guarding position. So now when the contact occurs, which is here, was he in that spot legally? Well, he moved backwards, correct? So he's legal in that spot because he was maintaining his position. So yes, he got to that spot legally. Well, he didn't have 2 feet down. Well, it doesn't matter, right? Because once you obtain an initial legal guarding position, now you maintain by moving. So if you call something there, which I probably would, player control foul. All right. This one's a little more difficult. I didn't put all easy ones in here.
That's a charge all day.
Original thought. We've got one charge. Anyone else? The official on the floor called a block.
because I mean, I could see, we were talking about it directly. So we're very top of mind on the ruling, but you could see here where he was at a triangle to the basket from the person driving, and it looks like he throws his body underneath him, even though technically he had legal guarding position. So
I think
Okay,
it's a
now-
block. I think he's stepping to him too.
Now, first of all, I want to say this. The lead official, and not by fault of his own, is at a terrible angle.
Yep.
Right? Because the ball got stolen, so he has to trail the play. I get that. That's
he's behind
unfortunate.
him to begin with, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's what happens. So he's making a ruling based on his angle. This official here is behind the play as well, not his call. This official was going to call a player control. I'll tell you that. I talked to that official.
Talking to yourself?
Yeah, I talk to that official every day. But block. So I said, let's take a look at it. Does he have a legal guarding position?
Yes.
Right here, he does.
Yes.
And for those people who say, well, he didn't get 2 feet exactly on the ground, can you run with 1 foot only on the ground? You really can't. So even though you may not have 2 feet on the floor at the exact same moment while you're running, if you are running, in essence, you have 2 feet on the floor. All right. So you got to give a little allowance, a little stipulation, but he's got 2 feet on the floor. He's facing his opponent. The question is, and this is where it's really tough, and I'm not sure what the answer is. He's maintaining. Now he's in the air. Where is his path? It looks like his path is actually just to the side of the defender. So then once he goes in the air, he's no longer allowed to move into that path. I think block is the right call on this one.
I agree with that too.
But it is so absolutely slight. Again, I was going to call charge. If it was my call, I would have called charge. But I think he was right. I think it was a block.
I like that distinction of moving into the path after he was an airborne shooter. I think that makes a big difference in this play.
In my opinion, block charge plays are not difficult, except when you have a possible airborne player in play. That changes all the rules, right? Because now you have to be to that spot before he leaves the floor. And that's a lot to look at for one official, right? When did he leave the floor? When did he get there? Did he establish a legal guarding position? That's a ton to look at.
Well, Joshua, this is Joe. From a positioning standpoint, because obviously as the lead, the play happened fast and he got beat. What do you do to try to get a better angle? Would it have been better had he maybe stopped around the free throw line and try to get an angle to see that play better?
Yeah,
Because
that's
he's not going to be able to get in the position, you know?
that is a great question. And yes, we as officials, one, need to understand we're not going to be as fast as these players. Some officials are. I'm going to give them their credit. Some officials can really haul, but most of us that are aging cannot. So we know we are going to get beat at least once, twice, 3 times a game. We're going to get beat. So we have to recognize, oh man, he just stole the ball. There's no way I'm going to keep up with that play, right? There's no way. Even if he stays level with them, which he did pretty good, he stayed pretty much even. It's not a great angle. So you're going to come, you're going to run, and you're going to stop about right here. Just stop. And it's okay if you stop here and your center is now even with you. That's okay. You're stopping because you want to get the best angle in between the players when it happens. Does that answer your question, Joe?
Yes, sir.
It's easier said than done. It's easy for me to pull a clip and say, you should stop here, because when we're in the game, we want to, one, stay with the play. We want to be right on top of it. We want to show that we're hustling, right? But there's times we just have to stop for the best angle. And then once the contact happens or no contact or whatever happens,
Goes down or something.
then you need to bust down to the end line. Don't just stop and stay there and the ball goes in and wait for them to get it. And no, you still got to get down to the end line.
This is kind of an extreme what if, Josh, but in a situation where you've established legal guarding position and you are the offensive player is coming, but you're off center, you're off line. If you don't move your feet, but you jump in front of them, either laterally or obliquely, and they never get their head or shoulders past you, are you still in legal guarding position?
Right. I want you to repeat that so I can understand what you're saying.
Okay, so your B1, A1 is coming toward the basket, but you're offline between them and the basket. So you're not in the direct path, but
Right.
you've established legal guarding position.
Right.
And you can't, you're not going to get your feet there, but you jump into their path. So your body is between them. Your feet just haven't made it there yet.
So you're saying,
have you maintained legal guarding position?
you're saying
Yes, it is. Yes.
you are jumping into the space.
Into the path. Yes.
I mean, that's a hard sell, but written by rule, you're legal because you do not have to have 1 or 2 feet on the floor. I don't know if the rule was written with that intent. So you could probably say block and say, coach, he jumped into the space. I mean, if you're going to jump into a space, I don't know, but I think technically as it's written, I think that would be legal.
Because you just, I've seen a few commentators lately, and I know we don't listen to commentators, but their language is he didn't get to the spot. Well, I'm just using kind of an exaggerated version of he didn't get to the spot first, because they're looking at the feet. But if there's a kind of a spectrum there, and just trying to figure out if there's ever a time where if it's,
I mean, you're right. That's extreme. Honestly, I think if you call a charge in most of these, you're going to take a ton of grief, right? Because coaches
they don't understand the rule.
They don't understand the rule. They don't like a charge. And I get that. They don't like it. If you call a block, you're going to get some grief, but you're going to get less grief and it's going to be more accepted. So if you call a block, if you're not sure and call a block, then fine. I'm okay with that. I don't want you to make a call that you're going to kind of be like, I'm not sure if I knew or not sure if I, got it right or right. Call what you think is right. If you're not sure, then err on the side that you think is right. Me personally, if I'm not sure, player control. I'm always going to err on the side of a charge because it is very, very difficult, especially if they hit him right here. If they hit him on the side, possibly he moved into the space, but if they hit him here, it is very, very difficult to hit someone in the chest without having gotten to that spot legally first. Again, taking out the airborne. If he's airborne, it is easy, but so whenever he gets hit solid in here, I'm going player control almost every time. Now, I may get him wrong sometimes. I understand that, but I think more often it's a charge than it is a block.
Thanks.
All right.
Wouldn't you say a good thing is to who caused the contact?
Right. So if you want to rule if you want to rule or have a general rule of thumb, I should say, and how to judge it, yes. Whose inertia caused the contact? Who moved into who? If you can determine that, you're going to get it right every time outside of the airborne shooter, right? Airborne shooter, got to take that out. But if you can determine who hit who, whose inertia hit who, you're going to get it right. But you have to be careful, because if you've got a player dribbling in, super speed in, and I come in and I come forward, even if it's slightly, I hate slightly, right? But even if it's slightly, I come toward my opponent, I'm not legal anymore. So I may totally barrel you over because I went so fast. But if I'm moving toward you, major mistake. But to be honest, of all the clips that I see, and I see lots and lots of clips, as you all can imagine, almost never do I see an opponent move toward a defender move toward his opponent. Almost never. They're either still or they are moving backward or obliquely. So anyway.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Does the offensive player have any responsibility jumping from A to B, from point A to point B?
Say that again, Jeff, a little bit louder. I didn't quite hear you.
Does the offensive player have any responsibility when he jumps A to B? So he's not being vertical? Because that guy left from A and landed B.
The dribbler, the ball handler?
Yes. Does the offensive player have A to B responsibility?
No. If I have the ball, everyone, it's kind of like football. If you want to make that, I don't like those analogies, but it's kind of like football. If I have the ball, you're expecting me to go toward the basket, right? I want to score with the ball, or I want to go toward my a teammate to pass the ball. So if I'm in the air, there is no responsibility of me that I have to come straight back down. If I'm moving this way and I go in the air, I'm allowed to land. Right? Now that doesn't mean if I'm standing here and I go in the air and I land into you, yeah, there's a responsibility that you can't just jump into somebody, but you can't. The whole reason that the rule applies
You can't jump into somebody who has legal guarding position.
Right. The whole reason that the airborne shooter applies is because once my feet are off the floor, there is absolutely no way physically, right, by physics, that I can change the direction of my body. There's no way. I'm in the air. You know, you can't swim through the air. I mean, so that's why it's in play. If I have a foot on the floor, and I know we can be technical and say his toe was on the ground, but as long as I'm touching the floor, I have the ability to change my direction. So the responsibility is on me before I leave, right? And if I see that player is in that spot legally before I leave the floor, then I guess I have a responsibility that I can't just jump into him. But does that answer your question, Jeff?
Yeah, I think so. Just maintaining a legal guarding position. And like we're saying, we're trying to make sure that the defender didn't do anything wrong.
So I read this rule to a friend of mine the other day. Are any of you aware of this rule? I'm going to read it. It's not really an airborne shooter per se, but it says the dribbler is not permitted additional rights in executing a jump, try for field goal, pivoting, feinting, or in beginning a dribble. That makes sense, right? Just because they're dribbling the ball doesn't mean we give them additional rights. So that kind of goes to do you have a responsibility of A and B? I guess you do. You don't get to just do whatever you want. You still have to follow the rule as it's written. But unfortunately, I think that's why we get a lot of block calls, because people kind of err on the side of protect the shooter, protect the dribbler, protect the ball handler. And that's you got to take that away. Yes, we want to protect every player. It's not about just the ball handler. It's not about just the shooter. Protect every player. If they're airborne, maybe they get a little more consideration, right? Well, now we got to make sure, did he get to that spot before he left the floor? So, all right, I'm rambling a little, but I hope that helps. All right, let's go back to the share screen.
Hey, Josh, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Similar kind of situation. Let's say you've got two guys, or one dribbler going down the court, fast break. Defender doesn't have legal because he's like shoulder to shoulder with him.
Oh, I have one of those.
Okay, so it just happened tonight in a college game, and I was listening to it, and of course the commentator's like, "Oh, he didn't have legal guarding." But if the guy with the ball, instead of dribbling straight to the hoop like he should, decides that he just wants to go towards the bench and just clear out somebody without, let's say he doesn't use his arm. Let's say he uses his body as he's dribbling. Defender doesn't have legal guarding because he's just running down the court to play defense, but the guy with the ball has now just kind of cleared space, so to speak.
All right. That is a great question. I don't know how fast I'll be able to find it. I know it's in rebounding, but it's not a rebounding situation that we're talking about, but I'm going to read the one out of rebounding, and it's in one other spot, but because I'm sitting here on screen, I don't want to waste your time to find it, but it says, every player is entitled to a spot on the playing court, provided that player gets there first without illegally contacting an opponent. So if I'm running side by side, I don't have a legal guarding position, but I'm legally entitled to the spot that I'm running. So if that dribbler then changes his path into me and causes contact, well, who caused the contact? The ball handler, right? So the foul should be on the ball handler, not because I didn't have a legal guarding position. I'm allowed to be here. I'm allowed to run next to side you. Is that what you're talking about, Ken?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And so then you need to explain that to a coach, because they're going to start yelling and screaming about legal guarding. Because
He'll say, he wasn't said, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Coach, you can't.
That's all I'm asking. Just the best way to handle it, because I know, it happens to all of us. So
yeah, you can't just run into a player who's running next to you. Just because you have the ball doesn't give you the right to run into that player. They did nothing illegal to get to that spot, and then you illegally went into their spot. That's too long of an explanation, I realize, but maybe in a situation like that, you don't give the coach any explanation. Coaches don't have to have an explanation on every play. Even if we feel like we need to, sometimes an explanation makes things worse. Sometimes we know they ask a question, they don't want an explanation. They just want to yell at you, right? So you kind of have to use that as well to say, it was illegal, or he initiated the contact, or however you want to, maybe 4 words and then move on.
Can we just say that every player's got to be afforded a spot on the court legally?
Yeah, you could say, Coach, he was in that spot legally.
You could talk about them moving along their plane, because they can move side to side like in a straight line. And if each player is doing that, that's fine. And they have access, they have the ability, they have the right to move that direction. It's like you're saying, when they infringe upon that plane, so to speak, is either way. That's where you got the call, I think.
Right. Again, he is entitled to that spot as long as he got to that spot without doing anything illegal. It didn't say legally getting to that spot. It said he got to that spot without something illegal. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but so, yeah, I mean, those are plays where if a coach is going to yell at you, he's going to yell at you about something anyway, right? He wants to use that. I'm moving on. I'm just going to say, Coach, your player initiated the contact, and then I'm going to move on. I'm not going to get a conversation with him. That's me personally.
That's a good line. That's all you got to say is your player caused the contact.
Your player caused the contact. All right. Here's a bad block of mine. Now, again, I want to let you know, I know it doesn't start well, but the ball got stolen or something. And my center, boy, he's better positioned than I am, and I'm the lead. But look at the angle.
Yeah,
that's not a good angle. I probably would have been better off running in a couple steps and stopping right here, knowing that something is going to happen here, right? But I didn't do that. And then I call a block. Oh, do you agree with that block without all my groaning that I don't think it is a block? That guy doesn't either.
Looks like a charge.
Yeah, he had definitely right there as to established position.
He's there.
All right, now
He can back up.
I will tell you what I told the coach at the time that I made the call. Let's get to it. All right, so he got to his spot, right? Sorry. Moved back. You can't see all the feet, but he moved his feet like 3 or 4 times. Moved back. And then the guy hit him. And I'm like, he wouldn't have got, if he would have just stood there and got hit. But does he need to stand there and get hit?
So
No.
he can move backwards.
He can move backwards. In fact,
Yeah.
he can move backwards to try and even avoid it. And if he avoids it for 3 seconds and then gets hit, it's still a foul. Right? He is allowed to move, especially backwards. So yeah, this is a bad call because he had a legal guarding position and then he just maintained his position. Just
And
because
the guy, as you say, he really created the foul there. I mean,
just because the guy is in the air. Now he's airborne here, right? There was no contact. He's in the air here. There's no contact. Look at all that space. And he moves back and he moves back and then there's contact, but it doesn't matter. Was he in the spot when the player was on the ground? Sure looks like it to me. So
I got a question for you on that play.
Yeah.
You're in transition, your lead, like you said, you didn't get down there, but that looks like that's
coming from the center.
That's C's call.
Yeah, it's coming from the center.
He's right there. It's on his side of the lane. It's almost on the block. What do you think about that?
Well, he looks like he has the only whistle, at least the only signal. But yeah, I mean, technically,
Look
it's
where
a
the
transition play, but now everyone's in the front court. So once everyone's in the front court, it's no longer considered transition. So now you have your primary areas. That is from the C side. The lead only goes halfway up the lane.
I know.
Right?
So that's C's call, really. He's got a better look at it than the lead.
If the C had a whistle, I'm going to be honest with you, I probably still wouldn't have let him take it. And not because I'm being egotistical or arrogant or that's my call. When you're the lead, what do you normally want to call? All this action here, right? That block charge is the lead's call, even though it's not. Man, the lead gets it. And almost all the time, the lead comes out and gets it, does he not?
True.
So I probably was, although if you have a double whistle, what I do suggest, which I do think I'm good at personally, if you know there's a double whistle, and you should almost every time that there's a whistle, if you know there's a whistle, you should always post and hold, always. Because that way you're never going to have a large situation, right? Because if the other guy gets excited and punches it or blocks it, and you're holding like this, great. So again, lead gets all excited and punches it. He loves to punch it. The center, and the center is the one who really needs to show the restraint, because the center knows, I got it, right? And you hold it, okay, I'm going to put it down. So, but if every time there's a double whistle, if you can say to yourself, post and hold, then you're good. So maybe I would have given it up if I knew there was a double whistle, but I don't remember that play. That was like 4 years ago.
But just the question to the gentleman's point there, if that is coming from the center, from the lead standpoint, should you kind of wait, maybe come in late?
Probably.
I think we all agree that there's got to be a whistle there of some sort. If there's not, so as a lead, would you be more apt to come in late and give C first crack at it, so to speak, I guess?
In this specific play, because basically all 10 players are here, yes. If it was more of a 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 situation, probably not, because the center's probably watching some other action. So we have to be cognizant of where the players are and who's watching who. I know it's a lot to think about and a lot to watch, but yeah, definitely in this play, I think the lead should have maybe waited a second to let the center come up with something. All right. Let's go on to the next play. No call on this play. I'm going to play it again fast.
Displacement.
Happened here.
That's a big guy too.
And an extended arm.
I'm going to play one more. I'm going to play it one more time. Look at this fan. He saw it.
that's a charge. He pushed him.
Big time. Lost the ball doing it.
The form.
And not only did the player have a legal guarding position, the dribbler
Pushed him.
who is not allowed to extend an arm, shoulder, hip, or whatever all the stuff is into another player. He extended his arm into that player, right?
Oh, yeah, look.
We
Right.
cannot pass on this play. We cannot. And the lead had a great look at it. I don't know why the lead passed. I don't know why, but in my opinion, this is a big enough of a shove that you need to call that. That's got to be a foul. He shook his head. No, it looks like. So something happened where he doesn't believe that it was a foul, but
Well,
I don't know.
he's transitioning over, and I don't know where his eyes were, but it looked like he was looking right at it.
yeah, he wasn't a transition.
I don't think he could get in any better spot than where he was.
Well,
Were
and
you calling too many fouls, Josh? Is that why he didn't call it?
it was only 3-4 in the third. He was already thinking about 1-1. Is that what you're saying, Dennis? He didn't want to get into the bonus?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, sometimes when it's a rough game or whatever, and it's taken forever, and you know.
All right. Well, that's actually a good comment, because we all have our moments where let's say there's 15 fouls, or not 15 fouls, 25 fouls in a half, 25 fouls. We're in the double bonus. We just want the game to get over, or the half to get over. Like, are you kidding me? I agree with you. We should maybe loosen up a little to allow some extra contact, but not that.
Not that. Somebody's gonna
That's
get
too
hurt.
hard. And sometimes when you get 25 fouls and a half, it's because they're really fouls, right? And we do let some of the little stuff go. But if you start letting that go, then it's only going to get worse. And especially that's in the third quarter. Your fourth quarter is going to be rough if you let that go. That's just my opinion. But we got to call the bigger stuff and worry less about the little stuff. Yeah, did he get hit on the arm, or did he reach, or okay. But that was a shove, in my opinion. All right. I got a lot here. What are we, 7:39? I want to move over to, I don't want to end on this play, but this one I put on Facebook. For those of you not on Facebook, here's the play. This is from the 2019 3A championship game. We got a double whistle, and then a block is called. I'm going to play it again fast. Now, first of all, I want to say, fantastic. 2 whistles. They both post and hold. Nobody signals until they know who's got the call. I don't care who takes it. We can talk about whose it should be, but I don't care as long as one person signals. And they did an excellent job on waiting, and then one signal. So good job on that. Block or charge? What do you guys think? Here it is slow. I'll play it.
It looked like a charge from here, but
I'll play it slow for you.
Charge.
Now hold on. There's one more angle. So far, I'm in agreement. It is a charge. I don't have much question. It's a charge. But here's the third angle that makes me question.
Ooh, that's where, yeah,
Did he move into the space after he went airborne?
that's where you have to have a good judgment.
That's really close.
Well,
I think it's really close, but look at this.
He's there now.
Here's
No,
his
I gotta-
foot. Here's his foot right here.
Yeah.
So is he
What about that
airborne
left
yet?
foot?
Is he
What about
airborne?
that?
I think he's
No.
still
Not
charged.
yet.
He is not airborne. So he is still allowed to get to that spot a millisecond, a centimeter before he gets there, right? Because the player with the ball does not need time and distance. It is whoever is there first.
That's a
And
charge.
does he have a legal guarding position?
Right there.
Oh, he's definitely has legal guard position. Yeah.
He's facing his opponent here. He's got 2 feet on the ground. That's a legal guarding position. People could say, well, but he's not in his path. It doesn't say he has to be in his path. The rules are quite clear. Maybe they're vague on purpose. Maybe they're not. He does not have to be in the path. The rule states you need to be in the path legally before contact happens. All right, but he's maintaining now. So getting to that space legally is different. He doesn't need 2 feet anymore.
Hey, Josh, this is probably a great example of why that we want to hold those calls, and we also don't want to reach at all, because you had to go to a couple of different camera angles to kind of get something that was like, okay, was it really what we thought it was? And this is a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. And we're looking at this slow. We're looking at this freeze frame. We're playing it over and over, right? I'm not taking anything away for these officials. I'm not taking away from the official for calling a block. What I'm saying is, if we want to get these right in the future, we need to watch these plays. We need to slow them down. We need to freeze frame them. So the next time we see them, we got a much better idea of what actually happened. We might still get it wrong, but we're better off guessing. I still, again, the biggest talking point on this play, post and hold, post and hold.
Post and hold. Yep.
Both of them. None of them showed, and I'll tell you why. For those that don't know, this crew the year before had a blarge. It was all over YouTube, all over Facebook, all over social media, and they handled it correctly. They called a double foul and went forward. But do you want your blarge to go viral in the officiating community? So they didn't want another one. So they were very aware, and that's good. If that's, hopefully it doesn't take a blarge, get on TV to make it, but they were very aware and post and hold. So we all need to be that aware.
So
Hey,
question
Josh.
to you, Josh, if you ever have a double whistle and it's like a critical game moment, can't decide the game and it's playoff or something, would you ever consult with your partner before you decision it, or do you just defer with a head nod and just let the partner take it, right or wrong? I'm deferring to you. You're the primary. That's it. That's all.
On a play like this,
Yeah, if it's a close play, end of game situation.
This was a tie ball game in overtime.
Yeah, would you consult before you make the call, or would you just defer and let them make the call, right or wrong?
all right, I don't know if there's a correct answer, but I'm going to tell you my answer and probably what most officials would do. No, I'm not consulting. I'm going to determine with my partner who had the double whistle, who's going to take it. And then whoever decides they're going to take it is going to take it. I'm not going to get together and say, what do you have? That's going to look bad. On a bang, bang play like this, and maybe some people don't think it looks bad, but on a bang, bang play like this, make a decision and go with it. And so boom, boom, we got two whistles. You got it. You got it. Okay. You got it. Whether you point or don't point, and then you call it. Does that answer your question?
Well, kind of, sort of, but just the video before this one where the guy threw his elbow into the player as he was coming to the hole, maybe it was 2 videos ago, that was missed by the lead. But maybe someone else sees it differently. So you could have a double whistle on that. You're calling it as a block when the guy's using his elbow to clear the guy out. And that's, something different. I see something different. Do we have a conversation about it? Or do I let you take that call? It's a critical game moment. You can decide someone going to the playoffs or not. That's what I'm talking about.
And the answer is the same. Yeah, the answer is the same. No, don't consult it, especially if your partner already made the call. If no one made the call and you want to get together, I guess it's okay because nobody's made a call yet. But in my opinion, if you've got 2 whistles and you both get together, it looks like neither of you know what happened. And now you're just coming up with we'll go with this. That's the way it looks to me personally.
Yep.
So
that makes sense. Boom, thank you.
You got it. You take it. And if it is the absolute 100% wrong call, that official has to own it. Okay. And if that official sees the whole crowd is against him and everyone, and he wants to come and ask you and overturn his own call, okay, that's on him. He can do that. But I am in no way going to come in and say, oh, you didn't see the push off. You called a block, but he totally shoved him up. No, you can't, that ruins the credibility of the crew and of that official. So does that help?
Yeah, you're right. You're managing the perception. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, how we are perceived is almost taken with heavier meaning than actually getting it right. And that's kind of sad, but think of it this way too, especially if the other guy's already signaled and you have 100% knowledge that he's wrong because of the angle you had. That official might still think that he's right. He's not going to care for you to come in and tell him that he's wrong. And you don't have time to discuss it over and talk it over and say, well, no, come on, this is what happened and that happened, right? It's a decision to move on.
And do you include that with like, you know, out of bounds plays and stuff like that? Or are you not going to have a conversation about which, if it was out of bounds?
Yeah, no, out of bounds is different. Out of bounds is a little more black and white because you could, I mean, I guess you could say it's judgment too, but who did it go off of? There's not a determination as to who shoved who ran into who, was he in the spot legally or not, right? It went off of this player last. So yeah, for out of bounds, totally. If you've got an out of bounds and your player, your official, your partner calls it this way and you know it goes the other way, are you blowing your whistle going, boop, boop? No, it's this way. No, of course not. You're going to go to him and say, because he made the call, right? This way, hey, that ball went off of black. And if he is 100% sure that you're wrong, he's going to keep it going this way. Hopefully, if you come to him, he knows that he got it wrong and he's going to change it. But yeah, that's a big difference, I think, between out of bounds and a foul, because the judgment is taken out and it's no longer judgment. It's just fact of who it went off of.
Yeah, I just want to because we're managing the perception that that's a more acceptable perception, change, a more acceptable change when you're dealing with the perception of other coaches, players, whatever, that if you have an out of bounds situation is questionable, that, hey, I think I saw it a little differently, just giving you some heads up this way I saw. You make the call, it's your call.
Someone else had a comment.
In that last play, the offensive player had gathered the ball. He stopped his dribble. Does that make any difference in your judgment as to whether the defender was properly moving since the ball was gathered?
All right. I am glad you asked that because I meant to bring this up. And of course, I just forgot. On Facebook, a few people mentioned, when did he start his shot? When did he gather the ball? Continuous motion. All of that has nothing to do with whether a player is legally in a position or not. It doesn't matter whether he's shooting the ball, passing the ball, dribbling the ball. It makes absolutely no difference. If I'm in that spot legally and another player runs into me, it's a foul on that other player. Does that answer your question well enough?
It sure does.
Yeah, and for those that ever always say that, well, I thought he gathered the ball up here. I don't care if he gathered the ball. The rule doesn't state he has to have 2 feet on the floor facing his opponent before the dribbler gathers the ball or starts his shot. No, it doesn't say that. So don't take that into consideration. That's one less thing we have to worry about. We have enough to worry about as it is.
The gather is purely about establishing pivot foot, correct?
The gather, well, no, because is the gather really holding the ball? Pivot foot's traveling is based on holding the ball. The words holding the ball, catching the ball is in the rule.
Yeah, controlling it.
The gather, and that's why there is no gather in the rule book, right? It's our general rule of thumb. The gather is for continuous motion. Was he shooting the ball or was he not? And if you determine where he started to gather the ball here, he was probably starting his habitual motion of a shot here. So if he does get fouled, we know he was shooting the ball. But the rule book doesn't state that either. So you can't tell the coach, well, coach, he was gathering the ball here, so that's a continuation. Well, there's a lot of leeway and latitude we have to determine when that shooting motion starts. And that's why, again, we're not doing continuous motion tonight, but we have a lot of plays where the kid was clearly shooting the ball and he actually shot the ball and they call a foul on the ground, right? Out of bounds. It's not shooting. Well, when does it start? When does it not? So that's for a different meeting, but yeah, that's what the gather's for. And I wish they would put that into the book. It's in the NBA. I don't even think it's in the NCAA, but all right. Let's play this one. This is the 4A. By the way, the National Federation, not National Federation, I'm sorry, the IHSA released 3 months ago. I'm 3 months late, but they have the archives of all of their state championship games on YouTube. And it's on the IHSA website somewhere, the links, but they released all the 2019 games 3 months ago. And I pulled them all and I'm slowly going through them. I've gone through the 4A and the 3A and I'm currently going through the 2A, but Lots of good stuff. So if you literally are getting bored for high school basketball, I mean, who does except me, I suppose, but go on the IHSA. I mean, this 3A game was a great game to watch. The 4A game wasn't bad either, but some of these games are just fun to watch if you haven't seen them before. But all right. Another transition play. Another double whistle. And we got another block call. I'm going to play it fast again. And I'm going to stop it and ask y'all what you think.
Legal up there.
Is the official right with the block, or do you have a charge?
Got a legal guarding position right
Yeah,
there.
got legal guarding position right there. Yes, sir.
Where's my chat? All right, just in case anyone's chatting. All right, so yeah, he has a legal guarding position, right? Here it is slow again, and then I'm going to play it. I'm going to break it down.
The charge.
That's right.
Even closer. Let's go all the way up to the moment right before impact, all the way up, right? We already agreed he's got a legal guarding position. Right here he does already.
Right
There's
there.
no minimum or maximum distance. There is no minimum or maximum distance. He could be all the way up here, and he is attempting to guard him. He knows he's coming his way. All right, legal guarding position. But let's go all the way up to this moment, right? So he's got 2 feet on the floor. He's facing his opponent, which, all right, he's legal. Then what does he do?
Go back.
Backing up.
Oh, wait a second. He's moving his feet, though. He's moving his feet.
He's backing up. He's fine.
Right. He's not moving toward his opponent.
Backing up.
He's backing up. He's fine.
Offensive guy, definitely.
It's a charge.
The offensive player,
Impetus.
the offensive player ran this player over. He just ran him over.
Right, no doubt.
And the rule states, I'm going to read this rule too.
Laterally or obliquely or
No, it says the dribbler shall avoid contact by changing direction or ending his or her dribble. My point of reading that is the rule states that dribbler needs to stop. He either needs to change his direction or to stop completely, which he did not. And that's what makes that. We didn't need that rule to tell us it's a charge, but that's what makes that a charge. He was told by rule that he has to stop, and he didn't.
In the NBA, that would be a block.
Well, it's a block in this game too.
It shouldn't have been.
Shouldn't have been, no. All right. Let me play a few easy ones. Well, you guys are a really good group. Let's see if I can get some harder ones. Here is a series of plays from a fellow Officials Institute member. He sent me his game, which, by the way, if any of you are working, for those of you not in Illinois and you're working games, send me your game film. I will go through it. I will clip it. I will use it in a meeting unless you say, Josh, please don't use any of this. I won't use it if you don't want me to. But hopefully you've all seen that I don't call officials out. I'm not trying to make people feel bad for getting anything wrong. And half the time we have to slow it down to know that he got it wrong. But here's a series. It's a 2-man game, I think. I'm going to play this one first. Charge call. All right. Do we agree, disagree?
Yeah, that's a charge.
He was waiting for him, right? Did the big guy fall down kind of easy?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a charge. I think so.
Yeah.
Looked like the offensive player tried to go around him a little bit, but
where did he hit him?
on the side.
Okay. Is the side part of his torso?
Yes.
Did it look like he kind of moved into him? This leg
could be
moved, but
too.
that leg moved, but this leg is for the most part still where it's standing at the court, right? So he didn't move into his path. All right. But here's the next one. Just a few minutes later, maybe a few seconds later. No call. What's the difference?
Nothing.
nothing. He was no contact. He flopped clearly. The offensive player jumped straight up. It looked to me.
I got a chart.
I think he jumped into him.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Easy
not.
to be for sure.
He's definitely jumping into him. I mean, I could see where you would make no call on that, though.
Yeah.
It's not that
Now,
egregious.
and I agree. The contact is marginal.
Yeah,
And I think, again, if this big kid really was standing there taking the hit, he would have barely even taken a step back because of the contact.
right.
Now, I'm okay with a no call here, but my point is this happened just moments after the first one. Doesn't that like look bad when it comes to consistency?
Yeah, you got to call both of those if you're going to call one of them.
Because the first one wasn't terrible either. Maybe a little more of a contact, but that big guy fell really easily.
He knows how to fall.
Now, in the official's defense, because when I spoke to him about this, and he said, yeah, you're right. He said, the reason I didn't call the second one is because they're losing by 25 in the fourth quarter. And I just didn't want to keep piling on fouls on the losing team. I get that.
Good.
I get that, especially again with marginal contact. Does this look like the same that we talked about with the guy that pushed him off? Remember, he shoved him at the end, and I said, you can't pass on that?
Yeah, no.
This is totally acceptable, I think, to kind of say, all right, come on. Yeah, no?
Yes, I agree.
I
think
mean,
so.
my only question is the guy who's standing there kind of jumping into him. You see on that clip how he's kind of jumping into the side a little bit.
On this one?
On the very first one, you can kind of see how he's jumping to the left a little bit.
All right, but look, but the ball handler or the defender?
The defender that's in front of him.
See, and I disagree. I agree with you. His foot is moving, and he's kind of going in that way, but this foot doesn't move. So does that mean he moved in that spot? I suppose he could have, but at this angle, very tough to see if he actually moved over into his space. And because he hit him middle of the chest and over, even if he moved over slightly into his space, he would have hit him in the shoulder, which is part of his frame, which would have been a player control. I know, again, it's a lot to think about and a lot to kind of say, well, it was going to happen or it wasn't going to happen. That's why we get paid the $67, man.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Joe Foster. So on that first foul, that's definitely an offensive foul. But if on the second foul he's going to ref time and score, I don't see the consistency has to be there. So if you have a crash, you probably want to call something. So if he's going to ref time and score, just call a block and just go tell the coach, hey, he was falling down first. You know, if you're going to ref time and score, but we don't usually ref time and score.
Well, I agree.
And we call fouls.
Joe, I agree. When you ref time and score, and don't say we don't, because everybody does.
Well, we do, but
doesn't make it right. Right? It doesn't make it right.
Exactly.
And that's the slippery slope that you take. If you start doing that, you really can put yourself into a bad position, having to defend.
So absolutely. So my thing, if they're losing by 25 and I see that big kid with that marginal contact and he's falling first, then I'll hit him with a block. And then, because, hey, you were falling before the contact even happened. And I can sell that better than not calling anything on a crash, because there is somewhat of a crash right there.
Well, I agree with that philosophy.
I mean, because everybody in the gym and even those two coaches, they know there has to be something right there on that call.
Right, everyone's expecting something.
If we're gonna ref time and score, my logic on that, I would go over and I would sell it as a block and say, hey, he was falling before, just in it because they're losing by 25 already. So I mean, I could sell it that way if I'm going to do the time and score, because everybody's guilty of reffing time and score. I get that.
All right. Let me see if I can find, how about this one? It's another bad call of mine. All right, I shouldn't have said that. Let you guys decide. All right. Did you see this official call a block right here? Here it is fast again, and then I'll slow it down. It's not marked out, but what did the defender do wrong?
Turned sideways and into him, it looked like.
No, he looks pretty legal to me. He's
Yeah.
sliding right down with the play. He's
Sliding
just legal
down,
guarding
kind
position.
of moving back. He's sliding
He's-
down, moving back.
His hip moves a little into him, but to me, that's not toward an opponent. He's
That's
trying
good
to
legal.
try to control your hips exactly laterally when you're, coming down. But it looks like he steps on his foot, trips over his foot here. Now that's why I'm going to tell you, because this was my call. This was my game. I thought he totally tripped over this guy's foot. His foot was in his path that he was traveling. But now after watching it and thinking about it, even actually, honestly, seconds after calling it, I didn't like it, because I think even if he tripped over his foot, he didn't do anything wrong. He's running here. He's running in to the defender. So if he trips over the defender's foot, it's not the defender's fault.
You could take a pass on that, huh,
Yeah,
Josh?
would you propose a no call there?
I would. That should have been a no call. Yes.
That's what yep.
Yeah, I thought he was doing everything right. He's showing his hands. He's moving laterally with that player. I mean, you penalize the defense.
I went over
making a great defensive play.
I went over to the coach after I reported my foul, waiting for him to question me. He called me over and I said, "Coach, I didn't like that call either." He goes, "What?" I'm like, I think I blew that call. He goes, "Oh, I was going to ask you to watch number 3.
He had no
foot
problem
in mouth,
with it.
like, are you kidding me?
Hey, but that's good stuff right there, though, right?
Like, and I just lost my one chance to say I screwed up. I gave it up too quick.
Hey, Josh, real
Yeah.
quick question on that last clip.
Yeah.
It appears that the dribbler's right foot, the other white player, defensive player, to his right, got his foot tangled up with the dribbler's right foot. If back it up just a little, right there.
Maybe. Unfortunately, the resolution's not that great, so I can't tell. I suppose that's possible. It looks
And that's what caused him to start his tripping there.
looks more like his foot is buckling here, but yeah, all right, John, I might just go with that. The next time I play this, I'm going to say this guy tripped him. If that's the case, by the way, if this foot is here, his foot is impeding into the offensive player's path. And then that should be called a block, because
You can
there's
get a block.
Say that again.
I just said you can get away with the block on that, how John said, because it looks like he tripped him.
Yeah. And even though he didn't trip him intentionally, his foot was outside the frame of his body. So it makes his guarding position illegal, and he tripped over him. So that's a block. So, all right, John, I'm going to have to mark this file to make sure I remember that.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, let's play one more and then I can let you guys go. Let me see if I can find a good one. It's like a series again. Let's do this one first. Okay, official calls a block. Definitely has a legal guarding position. Do we agree?
Yes.
The computer tells you it's a legal guarding position. Where does he hit him?
On the side.
Right in the shoulder.
Or the shoulder, yeah. And the question is, did he lean in?
Offensive foul.
That's a charge.
Right? Now you say, wait a second. Hold on, let me pull it back. Wait a second. He moved a little. Look, his foot moved. Right?
He's trying to
It
get
doesn't
straight.
matter. It's an offensive foul.
Is he allowed to move once he's established a legal guarding position?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right. So he's just maintaining his position. Now, when contact actually happens, he's in that spot legally, and the shoulder is part of the frame of the body. The shoulder, he can't move his shoulder out of the way. That's part of
Right, he's in his vertical, right?
That's a charge.
Charge.
All right. Here's a similar play. This official calls a charge. This is almost exactly the same kind of contact. Again, legal guarding position, we agree. Now this came from the lead, who had a much better angle than the trail who called the last one. And that might be the difference.
And I know it's not NFHS, but he was in the restricted area too.
Yeah, college, that'll be a block, but that's an offensive foul. And
Really? He's in the
I
arc?
don't see how
Yeah,
the first
go back
play,
to the
how in
other
the
view.
first play didn't the lead get that?
Right there, right there.
All right.
His
So he's
right foot's
totally in
in
the
there.
arc, but yeah, this isn't a college game.
Yeah, so the RA, we're not looking at the RA, but then the first play, you said the trail called. You said the trail called the offensive foul?
I'm sorry. I guess it was the center. It was the center.
Oh, so he called a block or an offensive foul?
He called a block on that one. But look,
Yes.
again, my point is the center, come on, pause. The center's looking at it this way. The lead's looking at it right here and this way.
Yeah, that both plays, the lead should have had both of those calls right there, I think.
Well, technically in the high school, this is
Yeah,
the
that's
center's
that's
call.
in the center's primary area.
The lead's primary area stops halfway down the lane.
Yeah, well, I'm on some college stuff. My bad.
He's in a.
And it's okay. It's okay. I think a lot of guys would agree with you that any contact in the paint should be the lead. And I think usually that's the way we handle it because the lead gets excited when it comes their way and there's contact. But by the Federation officials manual, if contact happens in your primary area, the official who rules that primary area is primarily responsible for making the call. So this should be the center.
Was there a double whistle on that one?
This was the first one. The second one.
Right. Was there a double whistle on it?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
It was rotating.
Yeah. He had a double whistle. He had a whistle.
Yeah, he started to put his hand up.
Yep. And then this one, did we have a double whistle on this one?
Well, see, he's rotated.
No, one whistle on that one. Here's another shoulder hit. Same game. Lots of shoulder hits. No call on that one. See, three similar plays.
Charge.
He's not in the RA on that one.
That's a charge.
I think you still got to call that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a charge in college.
Charge.
You had a block. You had a charge. Should you come up with a no call? Not in my opinion.
No, that's a charge.
Let's see. This was in the.
He's right there. I mean, he's definitely there.
This is in the second, 780, 750. This was in the
Secondary
fourth.
lead should have it.
The last two they called in the fourth. So why did their judgment change in the fourth than in the second? Now, Joe, to your point, because whether it's subconscious or conscious, our officiating changes as the game morphs, right? As the game develops into something more competitive or more, more closely, we are a little more attuned to contact. We let a lot more contact go in the first 4 minutes of a game than we do in the last 4 minutes of the game. Do you not agree?
Yeah, our awareness is heightened a little bit. Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, that shouldn't be that way. But at the same time, I guess it kind of should be, because for those of you that have reffed a while, don't we like to say, let's try and get a flow?
Not if a guy gets run over.
Well, you still got to call the big stuff. But
yeah, I know. I'm kidding.
There's a lot of guys that'll come in and like, oh, boop, hand check, and oh, boop, he got him on the arm. And they might be legitimate fouls. I'm not trying to say they're not, but sometimes you have to let that go in order for the players to find their groove. And okay, now we've got the flow of the game. Doesn't say allow illegal activity, but if it's, let it go. Not everybody agrees with that philosophy, and I understand that, but I don't like when the guys say only call felonies and not misdemeanors. I don't agree with that, because sometimes a foul is a foul, right? Sometimes I have to get that, because if I let that one go, the one down the road, now it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I realize when I say get a flow, but you have to know your line as to what is I can't let that go, and I can let that go. And that's, again, why we get paid the $67, right? Because we have to make those decisions. Just remember, look at yourself in the mirror when you're, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny, Josh, because I've ref Bogan like maybe 20, 30, 40 times. I've never seen him take that many offensive fouls. It's crazy.
State championship game, man. They got
Yeah, they some
raise the
handsy,
stakes.
they some hands-on kids, man. They like to put hands on kids, and they don't mind getting in a penalty if they can steal the ball. That's how they play.
Well, I'll tell
And
you
I've
what.
never seen them take that many.
If you guys are again interested in watching some old high school games, I mean, this is only 2 years old, but that was a fun game to watch. And I haven't had Bogan before, and I haven't had East St. Louis before. Those players can play. All of them could play, and went back and forth all game. It was fun to watch.
Bogan
And I watch it from a clinician standpoint, trying to find plays to show you guys, but still I enjoyed it. It was, it's more fun. I can imagine when, going down state and you get a good game to officiate. That's awesome. All right. Well, that's it, guys. I can do this all night, but you all have lives too. And I'm sure you want to get back to it, but if you have anything else, or you need the link for the merch or whatever it may be, a lot of these guys on here, guys message me on Facebook. They send me clips. I love it. So don't think you're upsetting me. Like you're upsetting my kids probably more because I say, hold on, kid. And I got to watch the video and respond to the video. I love that stuff. So again, if you're working outside of Illinois and you got a game or two or whatever, send me the link. I'd love to clip it for you. And I share all my clips with you. And again, if you really just want to see a play or two, but you don't want me to share it, that's fine. I won't. But I like to obviously have the video and to be able to use in these meetings and put on my YouTube, and not to make you look bad, but to make me look good.
Are you
all right? Does anyone have any other questions that are pertaining to basketball?
Quick question on mechanics,
Yeah.
because I got reamed out for my block mechanics.
Well, then you need to
fix what is the proper mechanic? Because in watching these videos, I saw 3 different mechanics, and especially like from the state guys. I'm not criticizing them or anything, but
well, no, it's a really good question. It's a very simple answer. Unfortunately, everybody does it their own way, and it doesn't make it right. And I'm sorry that you got reamed for it, because it is such a small part of what we do. If your signal is boom, 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 that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that, but you see it all the time. If you do the fists on the hips, that's wrong, but you see it all the time. If you see guys take a step, while they do it, that's wrong, but you see it all the time. My point is, if they're going to ream you about that and that's all they got, you're doing okay.
Right.
But by rule, L's, and that goes into your hips. You just do one motion. It's not boom, boom, boom. It's just one motion.
One motion.
Don't need to start even up here. By rule, there's no action. It's just basically you go like that. That's the signal.
Right. And that's exactly what I did. And the assigner is like, you got to sell it more. You got to put your hands over your head and start there if you have to really sell it. And I'm like, but that's not what the mechanic is, I thought.
No, but if you're a signer, if that's your assigner, do it the way he wants you to do it.
Right.
And maybe it was specific to that call. It was a big bang, bang play. He wanted you to put more action into it, to sell it, then do what he wants. That's what he wants. But you're right. It's not.
When in Rome, do like the Romans. When in Rome, do like the Romans.
Unfortunately, in Chicago, and I'm sure other states in metro areas are like this, but when you work for 30 different assigners, it's hard to keep straight what they all want. So just do the best you can. And you know what? Again, if he's going to yell at you for that, you're doing okay.
Right.
That's all he's got.
Never get in trouble using the right mechanics, though, right, Josh?
Yeah, you're going to get yelled at for doing the right mechanics.
No.
And by the way, my opinion, this looks bad. Why start all the way up here? What you're making everyone look at you. Hey, look at me. Block. I don't mind up a little bit. You want to get a little motion, but those guys that flap their arms, do it 3-4 times, in my opinion, looks silly.
A lot of times they're flapping their arms like that. They don't even put their fist up.
And it was a charge anyway. All right.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Yeah, thanks,
Josh.
Josh.
Thanks,
Happy
John.
holidays.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Merry
Thanks a lot,
Christmas.
Josh. Great job as always.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
Good job.
Christmas, guys.
Later.
All right. Take care, guys.